In 1999, the world was buzzing with excitement about the approaching new millennium. But in Great Falls, Montana, a discovery would shatter the year's hopeful spirit. On December 15, 1999, Great Falls police executed a search warrant on one of the most twisted individuals they'd ever encountered. The nightmare began with the discovery of a journal filled with cryptic codes. After painstaking effort, police were finally able to crack the codes, revealing horrifying recipes with names like Little Boy Pot Pie, French Fried Kid, and Little Boy Stew. Were these merely fantasies, or was something far more sinister happening in that decrepit kitchen? Let's dive into the dark and disturbing case of Nathaniel Bar Jonah to uncover the chilling truths that lay beneath the surface.
It's fun to eat supper with your family, especially when there is good food on the table. Strong, healthy bodies. They are good foods to eat.
Ten-year-old Zachary Ramsey, known as Zach, was a lively, sociable child, beloved by teachers, parents, and friends.
Just a really friendly, lovable, always smiling, just this great big smile all the time.
I lived down by Zach. He lived right behind me in the alley. Everybody knew Zach. He was a good kid.
Zachary lived at 404th Street North. He attended Whittier Elementary School, where he and his friends would meet before class to play and chat. However, Zach's carefree mornings took a tragic turn on a frigid Tuesday morning, February the 6th, 1996. That morning, dressed in a blue denim jacket with green sleeves and a blue football jersey with his name on the back, he set off for school.
So Zach got up at 7:30 that morning, and his mother and sister said goodbye to him, told him they loved him, and he headed down the alley with his backpack. And within 10 minutes, he was off the face of the earth. He just disappeared at the corner of 5th and 5th, and there was just nothing to go on.
The streets were blanketed with snow as he walked, kicking a ball of snow and taking a familiar shortcut through an alley. Unknown to Zach, an off-white sedan aisled quietly in the alley of the 400 block of 5th Avenue North. Zach, cautious and smart, likely saw nothing suspicious, but somewhere between 6th and 7th Street, Zach vanished. His friends assumed he was sick, and the school called his mother when he didn't show up.
Well, at first, it's typical for a principal to think somebody's pulling one over and they're playing hooky, as we call it here. And so then we pursued that, and when we talked with some of the friends in the classroom, and they said, no, nobody else is absent, then we became more and more concerned.
After a futile search, she reported him missing. This stunned Great Falls. A child disappearing on his way to school was unimaginable. This incident revealed a new chilling darkness in the community.
It became pretty clear pretty quick that there was something that happened. This was a criminal activity. He wasn't just missing. He didn't just run away. Someone snatched him.
News of his disappearance spread quickly, drawing hundreds of volunteers, law enforcement, and rescue teams to the area around the 400 block of 4th Street North, where he was last seen. Investigators soon found a blue pair of jeans in a dumpster near the alley and a blue denim jacket in a nearby field. Witnesses confirmed seeing a boy matching Zach's description walking to school that morning. One witness noted they saw Zach in the alley appearing to wait for someone. A more chilling report came from a family living nearby who said they saw Zach almost get run over by an off-white sedan. Another witness said they saw Zach crying and being followed by a large, upset man at about 7:45 a.m. This man was wearing a navy blue police jacket and was later identified as Nathaniel Bar Jonah, a man with a disturbing criminal history involving children. To find out what happened to Zach, investigators needed to dig deeper into Bar Jonah's background. Nathaniel Bar Jonah, born David Paul Brown on February 15, 1957 in Worcester, Massachusetts. His parents, Tyra Brown and Philip Brown. He was the youngest of 3 siblings, and from infancy, Daniel displayed troubling traits. Nathaniel's family moved to Lantana, Florida, where Nathaniel's difficulties continued. His father, Philip, a strict mechanic, was said to be very hard on Nathaniel, and Philip's harsh discipline only added to Nathaniel's issues. Nathaniel's issues included disturbing habits like self-mutilation, eating his own scabs, and drinking his own blood. As strange as this was, his mother seemed strangely unfazed by these troubling behaviors. In 1964, after moving back to Worcester, Nathaniel lured a girl into his basement with a Ouija board, attempting to strangle her before his mother intervened. This incident was quickly hushed up, marking the beginning of Nathaniel's descent into darkness.
Jonah was born David Brown, and he was born in Massachusetts. He actually started engaging in assaulting younger children when he was 10 years old.
By 1973, Nathaniel's predatory behavior escalated. Wearing a police-like jacket, he tried to lure two boys into a cemetery with a bribe of just $20 and the promise of a surprise. The boys refused, and their mother chose not to press charges, believing Nathaniel needed psychiatric help rather than legal action, a decision that would later prove disastrous. In March 1975, at the age of 18, Nathaniel spotted a boy walking to school. Once again dressed in his notorious police uniform, he abducted a boy named Richard O'Connor. A neighbor alerted the police, leading to Nathaniel's arrest. Although Richard was found badly injured, Nathaniel was only placed on probation. After this, his behavior worsened. During that time, Nathaniel traveled to a nearby town called Hartford, Connecticut, where he once again dressed as a police officer and abducted a girl. However, the girl began to convulse and vomit during the assault, and Nathan tossed her out of the car onto the street, where a witness noted his car number plate, leading to his arrest. One might think that with these two arrests and an already shocking track record, this man would be locked away for a long time. However, this case is like no other case in history. Despite being arrested for this assault, the information was never forwarded to Nathaniel's probation officer. He was later released from parole in 1976, marking the end of his probation period. A release notice was then handed over to Nathaniel, along with a thank you letter for his cooperation. By this stage, Daniel must have believed that he could get away with anything. This flaw in the legal system turned out to produce one of the most evil people in history.
In 1977, he was casing a movie theater, and he was looking for a couple boys to kill. And he had a police jacket on, a police badge, a toy gun, handcuffs. They were real handcuffs. He pulled up beside the boys after they left the movie theater and told them that he was a police officer undercover. They needed to come with him.
He brutally assaulted one of the boys by sitting on him in an attempt to suffocate him. Nathaniel believed he'd killed the boy and left him for dead. Nathaniel then placed the other boy in the trunk of his car. The injured boy survived and alerted authorities, leading to Nathaniel's arrest. This time, Nathaniel received a severe sentence: 18 to 20 years at the Massachusetts Correctional Institution. His stay there was marked by disturbing conversation reported by other inmates about sexual fantasies, leading to his transfer to Bridgewater State Hospital for sexually dangerous offenders. On March 22, 1984, while still in prison, Nathaniel Brown legally changed his name to Nathaniel Benjamin Levi Bar Jonah. He offered various reasons for this change, including a desire to experience discrimination as a Jew. Despite his Scandinavian ancestry, he later claimed that it was to reflect a Jewish identity he never truly had. In 1984, Nathaniel's parole hearing took a surprising turn.
In 1990, Bar-Jonah's family hired two Christian psychologists, and those Christian psychologists basically said that Bar-Jonah had been saved and he was very unlikely to reoffend, and Bar-Jonah was in fact released.
On February 12, 1991, Superior Court Judge Walter Steele ordered Nathaniel's release. Despite psychiatric concerns about his continued violent fantasies and desire to harm children, Nathaniel was free. It soon became clear that the only change that had undergone in prison was his name. On August 9, 1991, Nathaniel, now weighing 300 pounds, seized an opportunity outside a post office in Oxford. He entered a car where a boy was sitting alone and pinned him down. When the boy's mother saw and ran to the car, Nathaniel fled. Recognized by law enforcement and arrested later, he admitted he intended to kill the boy, Pleading guilty to assault and battery, Nathaniel only received a 2-year probation and was ordered to move to Great Falls, Montana to live with his mother. This move was surprisingly suggested by the Massachusetts officials.
Massachusetts simply sent him on his way. It was an absolute travesty.
Well, I was angry. I was extremely angry. Once he got to Montana and checked in with our probation office, here he is. But he was in our community, and he was on probation, and we decided there was not much we could do at that time.
Detective Bill Bellucci, despite a list of local sex offenders that didn't include Nathaniel Barr, chose to focus on him due to witness sightings in the alleyway. And although Bellucci requested multiple search warrants for Nathaniel and his mother's property, all were denied. Nathaniel eventually moved out of his mother's house, leading to a cat and mouse game between him and Bellucci over the next 3 years. Despite his extensive criminal history, Nathaniel exploited legal loopholes to avoid serious consequences. Bellucci, however, saw Nathaniel as a unique case with imminent danger, even without a murder conviction. On December 13, 1999, Bellucci spotted Nathaniel outside an elementary school for the 3rd time that week.
I was working day shift that day, and one of the detectives was on his way to work and had just driven by Lincoln School and spotted Nathan Jonah dressed like a policeman. This detective knew who he was and thought, this is not right, and we stopped him.
Bellucci acted quickly, charging Nathaniel with impersonating an officer and carrying concealed weapons. 2 days later, a judge approved a search warrant for items used to impersonate officers. This warrant, while not for violent crimes, was pivotal for Bellucci.
We decided that we were going to do a search warrant. We learned in his background, of course, that he had posed as a police officer, had kidnapped some young men. Therefore, this was pretty similar.
During the search, police uncovered both expected and alarming items, including coats, toy badges, a stun gun, and a baseball cap labeled security enforcement.
And his apartment, you have to understand, was loaded to the ceiling with just crap. He was a saver of everything.
There were thousands of Christmas ornaments that were all over the walls. Thousands upon thousands of pieces of paper. There was approximately 22,000 photographs of children. Some of them were cut out from magazines, some of them were actual photographs. Many of them were actually cut out photographs from school yearbooks of children in Great Falls.
We ended up taking 55 boxes of items that we then took to the police station and spent 3 months analyzing.
But the discovery took a darker turn, with a pull string emerging from Nathan's kitchen ceiling. There, police found albums with thousands of child cutouts, a document on knots and bondage, and even an article titled Erotic Asphyxia. Further investigation revealed Nathaniel's absence from work on February 6, 1996, the same day Zachary Ramsey vanished. Nathaniel's mother had been away with his brother, but her off-white 1978 Toyota Corolla was left behind with Nathaniel. With these findings, Bellucci was able to obtain a second search warrant within 2 days. This time, while searching, police discovered a chilling list titled Lake Webster. This list included the names of 54 boys, tracing back to Nathaniel's first victims in Massachusetts.
He had a list that not only had the names of the victims that we were aware of that lived in Massachusetts, but Zach Ramsey was on that list, as well as several kids who lived in Great Falls. So we went upon trying to find out who are these young men who were on this list.
The last entry in the journal was Zachary Ramsey, marked clearly with the word died. Additionally, over 3,500 photos of children were found in the album, as well as undeveloped film with images of Nathaniel and 3 unidentified boys. They also found coded journals and bloody gloves. One of Jonah's former roommates said he'd seen clothing matching Zach's and also bloodied gloves in Nathaniel's possession. Another roommate recalled Nathaniel's unsettling comments about Zachary Ramsey, even claiming that Zach had been dismembered and scattered around. Around a month after the journal from Nathaniel Jonah's home was decoded, it was revealed as a cookbook with chilling recipe titles like Little Boy Pot Pie, French Fried Kid, and Little Boy Stew, along with some other disturbing recipe names I won't even mention here.
They found a whole series of coded writings that Bar-Jonah had made, and they looked like just random letters, just in small blocks. No one could really make sense of what it was.
Police also found a large stained plywood board in Nathaniel's garage, cleaned with bleach and clearly hacked with a meat cleaver, suggesting it had been used as a cutting board. A luminal test uncovered the word Teeter, which had been written in blood on the floor. This was tentatively linked to James Teeter, a murder victim from New Hampshire in 1973 who had been raped and strangled. Nathaniel had hosted cookouts for people from his church, serving what he claimed to be deer burgers, which according to his guests tasted very odd. Claiming he personally hunted the deer and processed the meat, it was later found out that he didn't even own a gun or a hunting license, and his credit card records showed no food purchase for a month after Zach's disappearance. Human hair was also found in a meat grinder, and 21 bone fragments were discovered, belonging to unidentified boys aged between 8 and 13. The police were convinced they'd found the remains of Zachary Ramsey, but DNA tests confirmed the hair and bones belonged to two different African-American males, neither of whom was Zachary Ramsey. Later it was revealed that Nathaniel had most likely been serving the boys he murdered to his church congregation and his friends at barbecues, using the recipes the police found in his journals. There's no way to know exactly how many children Nathaniel had murdered, and it left the police scratching their heads in disbelief.
He had the house and the garage to himself, and so he set into motion this plan to kidnap Zach, torture him, cut him up, and then feed him to people he despised at his church. And he photographed those dinners.
Several of the psychological evaluations had acknowledged that he had a very strong desire and a curiosity about the taste of human flesh.
Nathaniel's case caused significant outrage, particularly concerning Zach's disappearance. But Zach's mother just refused to accept the possibility of her son's death. She was convinced by a psychic that Zach was still alive and lived in Italy, and she even threatened to defend Nathaniel if he was tried for her son's murder.
Apparently God thinks that we're pretty strong people and that we can handle this. And there's going to be good. I know there's going to be good. I just don't know when.
I can't count on one hand the times I saw her break down and cry. She was very strong, very proud, and truly believed that he was still out there. And I don't think she wanted him to ever see her upset.
We were all in the office pumping up for this big trial, and all of a sudden one of the county attorneys walks in and says, "Hey, I just saw Rachel with the two defense attorneys at dinner."
So we actually had a meeting with her the next day scheduled, and she came in and we asked her what was going on, when's the last time she had seen the defense counsel, and she didn't tell us the truth. So we brought it out that, hey, we saw you last night in a meeting with defense counsel, what's going on? Well, she just blew up at us.
It was then that we learned that they had taken her out to dinner, had been grooming her testimony, and she was the first witness to get up on the stand, and her testimony was going to be that her son is still alive. And at that point, you have reasonable doubt right there, and so you have no case.
We were just shocked by it, that we'd worked so hard, and this just came out of the blue. I already had life without parole. I wasn't about to cost the taxpayers another $500,000 when I had a mother of the victim who didn't want to cooperate.
This denial prevented the closure for Zach's case, leading to the eventual dropping of charges due to insignificant evidence.
We always tried to continue to get him to give up the body, but he never would. Give us something so we can get some closure. But he's the type of guy that would just love to hold that power over the cops, especially, and go to his grave like that, and he did.
Despite this setback, police focused on other potential victims. The list found at Nathaniel's home included boys from his apartment building. One boy confirmed that Nathaniel had molested him during a sleepover, while another one of the boys wrote to Nathaniel in jail, denying any harm.
I wanted to try the sexual assault case first, I thought it was really important to get that conviction because obviously the murder case was a case without a body, very, very difficult.
I have to say, at that point, I didn't really care if we took him to trial on the murder. I would have loved to, but getting him put away for life was really the goal.
But ultimately, Nathaniel was sentenced to 130 years in prison without parole for kidnapping, assault, and sexual assault. And in 2008, Nathaniel died of a heart attack in prison, taking many secrets to his grave.
I never had any interest in any form of cannibalism.
Rachel's denial and her own grief about her son vanishing without a trace has been absolutely devastating for her. The idea that your son was kidnapped, mutilated, cut into pieces, and then fed to other people by the perpetrator is just, it's mind-boggling. It's incomprehensible. She devoutly believes that Zach is alive.
If my child was missing and the police were never able to say what happened to him, then I would hope that someday he's going to walk through the door. It would make you live better.
Please share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video compelling, please subscribe, like, and share. Stay safe until next time.